Welcome back to the Neutral Zone. Today we're going to be talking about the LSU Tigers and their 2023 season as we continue along with our recap series. As always, if you're new to the channel, please do us a favor, like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss a single upload. We do have our big giveaway coming, giving away a signed Tim Tebow jersey Sunday, so tomorrow, 9 p.m. Eastern. If you want a chance to win this jersey, please show up, show out for us, support. Share the channel to someone so we have more people in there to talk football with us. But Dad, how do you feel about LSU and what was your takeaway from their season?
It's funny. Before I actually looked this up and I looked up their record and looked at their schedule, I would have said this was a disappointing season. But when you look at 10-3, obviously the loss to FSU early kind of set the stage and hurt their chances to make it to the playoffs. A 6-point loss to Ole Miss. And then you look at that Alabama loss, it was 14 points, but I think they were in that game for quite a while. 10-3 record, I think is very good. That's a formidable record. That's a record to be okay with. Again, I know LSU considers themselves a team that should be a national championship contender every year, but I don't think you can sneeze at 10-3. And the concern really for them going forward is Jaden Daniels did everything for them. Obviously won in Heisman, was the leading passer, was the leading rusher for the team. So the question becomes, can you find a way to replace all that production? We know Neighbors leaving as well. So you're losing your leading passer, rusher, and receiver from this past year with a team that was in a shootout every week. If they were going to beat you, it was going to be based off of their offense just outproducing. The defense this year was a little disappointing. They didn't seem to be able to really stop people, and especially get stops when they needed them. If they were going to win this past season, it was going to be behind Jaden Daniels, Malik Neighbors going out and making plays. It wasn't going to be because they were getting timely stops. Again, I say 10-3 is nothing to sneeze at, but I do have concerns for the future because they are losing so much production. What's your thoughts?
So obviously we did the preview series early on, and a lot of LSU fans were mad at me with how I felt. A lot of LSU fans and a lot of mainstream media had LSU in the playoffs this year. They were preseason top 5. So I would say
had them in the playoffs.
Yeah, I would say that this is a disappointing season for LSU because you were a playoff favorite heading into the year, and you pretty much fell out of that race halfway through the season with your second loss to Ole Miss. Obviously, losing to Florida State wasn't the end of the world. I picked Florida State to win that game, so that didn't surprise me. But I think the close calls throughout the year, as well as the loss to Ole Miss, the loss to Alabama, kind of put the stamp on an unsuccessful season. The reason being, obviously, when you're looking at a team who's in the top 10 and you don't even really have an argument to be in the playoffs by the end of the year, I think that's disappointing, especially because before the season started, we talked about this roster being one of the deepest and most talented rosters in college football. They had one of the best portal addition classes in the past preseason or the offseason. They had some of the best recruiting classes in the last couple of seasons. So I do think it's a disappointment there, just because they weren't able to make it to the pinnacle of the SEC in their own conference and ultimately get to that playoff. But I do think I'm going to go the other way. I'm not too concerned about their future. The only concerning part to me is the quarterback position. You bring over the guy from Vanderbilt, so he's probably going to compete with the person who was the successor. The successor for Jaden Daniels. So I think that's really the only question mark. I think LSU is going to have the talent, surrounding the quarterback position to help them out. The defense is always going to be good. LSU is always going to be a top 10 or so, top 5 program. So I don't think they're going to struggle by any means. I don't have them in the playoffs next year. We're obviously going to preview later on in the year. But I thought that this was their window. This year was their window. Obviously, they had a Heisman winner on their team, and they weren't able to get, up to that, the contention for a playoff spot in the SEC. So that's the only kind of knock that I have for LSU is this year is the expectations were so high and they were unable to meet them. And it's not like they lost late, to kind of knock themselves out of playoff contention. Like I said, they lost, what was it, week 7?
Because they lost their first game week 1.
6, week
and
5,
and then they lost to Ole Miss, and that was pretty much it for them in terms of playoff contention.
Yeah, so I mean, I think that, like I said, that hurts the overall kind of the broad picture of this season. And again, LSU fans are going to disagree, and that's completely fine. But I think when you're looking at a team who's really the notion of this team was championship or bust, in my opinion, and really all of the LSU fans as well, because if you guys go back and look at the preview video, everyone in there told me that LSU was one of the best teams in the country and they're going to go 12-0 or 11-1 and make the playoffs. And I said it, I'm on record saying that I didn't think this team was that good. I had them going 10-2 or 9-3. I just didn't see it happening. I didn't think they would lose to Ole Miss, but I did have them losing to Florida State and Alabama. So it's going to be interesting to see. Just to kind of talk about their next year's schedule, just to kind of bring it up, they do play USC to open the year. They play Ole Miss, A&M, Alabama, Florida, and Oklahoma. So they have a tough schedule next year. I would say, four blue bloods in Oklahoma, Florida, Alabama, and USC. And then you still have the Ole Miss, who we talked about, having one of the most complete rosters coming back next year. So LSU definitely has their work cut out for them. But again, I'm not super high on LSU, but I don't think they're going to fall off a cliff just because they're losing Neighbors and Daniels. I do still think this team is going to be able to compete for the SEC title, because with Alabama taking a step back, with Tennessee not being what they were, obviously Georgia is still going to be in that contention. You have Texas coming in, but you don't play Texas or Georgia. And I think Texas and Georgia are the number one and number two teams in the SEC. And the fact that you don't have to play either of those teams is going to benefit you in the long run. So I do think that this team can make a little bit of noise, but I think the biggest question mark is the quarterback position for sure.
Well, I think this is going to be a very tough season for LSU. Like I said, I think Jaden Daniels meant so much to them. We'll see what Garrett Nussmeier is and what he can do, especially as teams have a little bit more tape. He played in a bowl game that they did win. But like I said, on top of that, you also lost Logan Diggs, Noah Kane, two of their top running backs. They do bring back Josh Williams. Josh Williams went for under 300 yards, but it looks like he'll get the starter running back. That receiving core, not only are we talking about Malik Neighbors, but they lost probably three of their top four receivers. So not only Malik Neighbors, but also Brian Thomas was a big piece of that team. And then the only, I guess you say, bright spot for them offensively is they're bringing back Mason Taylor, Jason Taylor's son, the tight end. But there's so much turnover on this offense. They're going to look completely different week one than they looked at whatever. And I'll take the bowl game out. The last week of the SEC season, they were going to look like a completely different team. It's really how much chemistry. And then is Garrett Nussmeier. And I don't know if I'm saying this guy's name correct, but it's Garrett Nussmeier legit? Is he the truth? If he's good, then maybe. I'm assuming LSU recruits at a high level, so I'm assuming some of these kids are going to be legit. We just don't know them yet. There's a lot of turnover with this offense.
Yeah, and they did have a good transfer portal class. They brought over C.J. Daniels, wide receiver from Liberty. They bring over Jair Brown, the corner from Ohio State, obviously. A safety from Auburn, Xavier Thomas, Mississippi State transfer, a wide receiver. So they do have two receivers coming in. Obviously, the Mississippi State transfer played in the SEC, and C.J. Daniels played at Liberty, which is obviously a smaller school, but Liberty had a great season, obviously.
Undefeated last year until the bowl,
Yeah, Liberty had a great season, so I'm assuming that he's going to kind of be the missing piece for them. Not saying he's going to be Malik Neighbors. That's not what I'm saying, but I do think that he can plug in and kind of fill the void just a bit to help out whoever does replace Jaden Daniels at the quarterback position, whether it be the transfer from Vanderbilt or Nussberg, or however you say his name. Like I said, I'm sure
Nussmeier, I think.
Yeah, I'm sure we're butchering it, but let us know in the comment section how you pronounce that name. But also let us know how you guys feel about the LSU season, their expectations. They did have a top 10 class recruiting in 2023 and 2024, so still hot on the recruiting trail with Brian Kelly. So like I said, I think this team's still going to be here to stay, still going to be a threat as far as playoff talks and championship window. It really is just going to come down to the quarterback position, because again, that was everything for them. And obviously a Heisman caliber player. So it's just going to come
down. Well, not even Heisman caliber. Yeah, he won it.
Yeah, he won the Heisman. So can you do it without a Heisman caliber quarterback, without a Heisman winning quarterback? Are you able to do that on a consistent basis? Go ahead.
And you mentioned the Vanderbilt guy. It's AJ Swan.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm looking forward to see how this team kind of continues to build in the portal as well as the recruiting process. Like I said, they have a pretty tough schedule next year outside of not having to play Georgia and Texas, but nonetheless, you still play some really good SEC teams. You still play a USC team who has talent on their roster as well, one of the most explosive offenses in the country. So that's probably going to be game of the week, really. In that first window, that's one of the better games. Obviously, you have Clemson, Georgia as well. That's only two off the top of my head that I can think of. But I can't wait to preview this team, to get to know more of you LSU fans, so you guys can tell us what you guys think and how we're wrong about LSU. But
Yeah, because I don't think even an LSU fan can believe that that you're not going to see a little bit of a decline, right? I don't think there's any way that you can truly believe that you're not going to see a little bit of a decline. If not, and I suspect a decent decline, right? I'm looking at probably an 8-4, 7-5 season next year.
yeah, I mean, but just by looking at it, I would say 8-4, but I could see a 9-3 or a 7-5 as well. This is gonna be one of those teams where the ceiling can be really high and the floor can be really low, because I think they have the talent to beat anybody on their schedule. Realistically, they can beat anybody on their schedule, but I think they could also lose 5 or 6 games to some of these teams. So looking forward to seeing that. But as always, like I said, if you're new to the channel, please like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you don't miss an upload. Big live show tomorrow, giveaway signed Heisman Tim Tebow jersey. Please stick around for that, 9 p.m. Eastern. We also have a regular scheduled episode coming out early in the afternoon before we go live. So check that one out as well. But we'll see you guys then. Peace out.